I just wanted to make a quick video. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to update a little bit of what's been happening. So the short and long of it is I have moved from Florida to South Carolina. So I'm moving counties, states, everything is totally different. Um, I just got done this week with the county's summer academy. And so this is very similar to Ed Camp, which I have attended before in Florida. And at my last school, we also tried to mimic that idea where the teachers fill out what they're interested in. And then you kind of build professional development on that. Another way to do that is that you kind of give all of these different topics, and depending on what you're most interested in, you go to those sessions. And they're anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Sometimes they're 3-hour classes if there's a lot of content to cover. I loved the way that Greenville County organized their summer academy. They had it online where you could see all of the times, and then they also coded them by color, and the colors were specific to the type of education that you were related to. So there were some just for administrators, for instance, by subject level, elementary, middle, high, whatever it was that you did in education, they did that for you. So I attended all 4 days. I attended anywhere from 1 class a day to 3 classes a day, depending on my interest and what I thought was best for me currently. So this is going to be year 5, and I cannot believe that I'm here. It seems like yesterday I was graduating and getting my first teaching job. So reflecting back on everything that I've done, I'm very proud. But I know that I'm not even close to what I want to finish. So I'm excited that I still have that momentum to keep going forwards. So I have another challenge in front of me. I'm also changing grade levels. So I've taught 4th grade the last 2 years, and I'm going to 3rd. So on top of a new state, a new county, and a new grade level, I'm also going to be teaching all of the subject areas. So it's a self-contained classroom, whereas I was teaching just ELA the last 2 years. So a lot of changes, but I'm really excited for it. I knew that it was going to be completely different, but I'm ready for it. So some major changes that I expect being here. I have done a lot of research into the standards as far as how they are different from Florida's, and I'm happy to say that they are pretty similar. The strands are slightly different, but overall the Common Core was adopted by both states, repackaged, repurposed, and called whatever you want. You might change a little bit more. And across the board, I would say it's pretty similar. The only difference would be their social studies. Florida was very heavy on Florida history. South Carolina is very heavy on South Carolina history. Makes sense. So I'm going to have to buff up on my South Carolina history. I was born and raised in Florida, so it's pretty easy for me there. But South Carolina, I can't say I'm an expert in. So we're going to be doing a lot of reading. I see so many similarities in how Hillsborough County and Greenville County structured their curriculum guides and their pacing guides. The amount of minutes spent in each subject area is similar. The focus, how they want you to teach each subject, the structure is very similar. So my writing block is very much the same thing that I would teach in Florida. There's a 15-minute mini lesson. Mostly the kids are independently writing, and then there's a share edit at the end. Very similar to what I did in Florida. So I feel good in writing. Reading, same thing. You do your mini lesson, they do that independent reading, and then guided. You want as much individualized attention with the kids as possible. Math and science I have not taught in the last truly, I'm going to say 4 years, because my first year teaching I did 5th grade, and that was a self-contained classroom. Then I went to kindergarten, and kindergarten standards, even though there's curriculum behind it, and it's mostly community building, it's mostly like how to be a student in school, so there was a lot more of that character ed versus the actual heavy content that I would think of when I think of 4th grade math and science, for instance. So science, I felt very uneasy in when I taught it in 5th grade. I thought the concepts were difficult to communicate. And I also felt like a huge failure when it comes to the 5 E's, that structure of teaching. Engage, I always felt like I failed on the Engage. The explain I could do, the explore I could do. The 5 E's just total, I did not feel very strong in. I didn't feel strong in it even when I was in college learning that structure. I did not feel good in that. So this is going to be a really big bump for me, and I'm well aware of that. So I'm hoping that my science planning can be very structured and very well thought out. And I have some amazing veteran teachers that I'm looking forward to working with. So I'm really hoping to pick their brains on that. Math. Yeah. Math has never been my thing. I am not a mathematically minded person. And I have no shame saying that. But knowing that that's a weakness for me personally, it definitely transferred into my teaching. I definitely saw deficits in my teaching mathematically because mathematically I don't like it. I don't enjoy learning it. I don't find it fun, puzzly games. I don't like puzzles like that. Mind games are not fun. Like I don't find that interesting at all. So third grade as a whole, no matter what state you're in, third grade is no joke. So I mean, ELA, I feel very confident in. Not that I'm going to blow it out of the water, but I feel much more confident in language arts than I would in math and science. So science has always been hard for me, but I do find it interesting. I enjoy it. Math, you bring up the word and I go, great. So it's a mindset shift for me. And I have to remember, like, you got to keep your hype up and you have to sell it to the kids. So goals for this third grade year, I'm going to stick to what I did in fourth grade ELA. I think that it worked. Of course, you have to adapt everything for every individual class, but I liked my structure. It's the same structure that Florida was expecting, so I'm not expecting that to be my biggest challenge. I am expecting math and science to be my biggest challenge, and also pacing. I'm always not very good with time. If I see kind of something running in a certain direction, I want to stay with that and I want to keep that momentum going with my kids. And I have a really hard time saying, sorry, time's done. So that's something I'm going to work on. But my math and science planning, I'm definitely worried about. And my math delivery, I'm also very worried about. So those are things that I'm kind of looking into and that I'm anticipating being my biggest challenges. So those are going to be my strong focuses for this school year. Lastly, I think another big thing that I was just talking to my mom about is the politics behind teaching. It all comes down to money, always. And I remember being say a younger teacher, but not too long ago. And I was like, I am not going to post the essential question or the objective or those I can statements, whatever you want to call them, on my board because really it's not for the kids. It's for the evaluators or whoever's walking in my classroom. So why am I going to waste my wall space, my precious wall space, where good, meaty anchor charts that we made together as a class, why would I replace that with something that's really not even benefiting my kids? Because if it's not right for kids, it's not right. And I firmly believe that. If it's not right for kids, it is not right. But the other thing is, why are you digging in so hard? What is it really hurting? And is it worth the fight? So these are the questions that I had to ask myself eventually. And as I matured in my teaching, I came to realize, like, Courtney, it's not that big of a deal. You can let it go. So I see here in this county, there are so many more requirements, the political requirements for the classroom than there was in Florida. And that's partially because we didn't have funding. There wasn't funding to have evaluators go through the classroom as often as possible. They threw that onto the APs and the principals. And let's be honest, we don't have time to do that. And especially in the school the size that I was in, they didn't have time to do that. So I knew that I was lucky. I knew that I had freedom and they trusted us. I won't say that I took advantage of that time. I still taught to the standards. I still taught exactly how I would have taught in front of somebody coming in to observe my classroom. But it is a lot more pressure. And it takes the fun out of it. So I am looking at ways like, how can I still master that rubric? How can I still show that I am decent in certain areas? And I obviously need growth in a lot of other ones, but how can I accurately show it where I'm still keeping in mind my babies, my kids, because they are always my focus. They will always be my focus. And the minute that they're not, we're doing something wrong as educators. So, that's kind of my internal struggle right now is, I want to master that rubric, but I also want to keep in mind my kids. So that's a problem that I'm internally thinking about. Am I really going to have a kid come up to my principal who walks in my class and be like, "Hello, my name is Courtney, and we are going to be learning about math currently. Here is our essential question." And then they read it verbatim. Am I really going to be like that? Because listen, I teach humans, not robots. So if I wanted to be a computer programmer, I would have done that. So I'm not here to just ace a rubric. That's not the goal here. But I do want my kids to be accountable for their own learning. I want them to still have the same strategies. I think the county and I have similar beliefs. It's just the execution of these beliefs. So I'll let you know how that goes. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm sure I'm going to be making some posters that I probably am like, well, if this is what you want, here it is. But also, I've seen some kindergarten teachers really embrace it, and they integrate it into their teaching where, yes, it was required on the rubric, but they also made it relevant to their teaching as well. And that's kind of where you have to come in and sell it. So if I can use it and embrace it and actually have my kids using it, we can make it relevant for the kids, and we can also make it so that we're acing that rubric. So it's going to be a happy balance, and there are times to dig in your heels, and there are times to just go with the flow. And I'm still learning that balance. I really am. I'm younger and I'm new, so I'm really going to open up my eyes, have an open heart and open mind about everything that I'm finding that's new. Because there's no reason to make it harder than it has to be, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel when the car is already going on electricity right now. So wish me luck. I'm excited. I'm thrilled to be starting all of these new opportunities, and I see a lot of potential for me and the kids, and just education in general. So I'm really glad to be a part of it.